A bill and a budget have passed major thresholds, the next step for Wisconsin and also the rest of the country.
A very high bail is set in Rock County for the man accused of trying to poison women he dated. We'll bring you the latest from court.
And a Milton appliance store closes its doors with customers still waiting for appliances they paid for. We'll try to get them some answers. You're watching News 3 Now at 5. Thanks for joining us. President Trump closer to a major legislative win. His Big Beautiful Bill Act cleared the Senate today in a tie-break vote.
The vote was 50-50, forcing Vice President J.D. Vance to cast the deciding ballot. Alaska Senator Lisa Murkowski switched to a yes vote after negotiating more support for food aid and tax breaks in her state. 3 Republican senators voted no on the bill, including Kentucky's Rand Paul.
I think they're going to look at it and see that it's much less conservative than it started out to be, and it's going to add much more to the debt. And so I think without question, this is not a fiscally conservative bill. And if you're someone who thinks the debt is a problem, I don't see how you could vote for this.
House leaders still plan to hold a vote tomorrow. President Trump says he's ready to sign the bill, though he is flexible on timing.
Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson was one of the fringe votes that made it possible for this bill to pass. In a statement released today, Senator Johnson said, while the bill is a step forward, we have only just begun the difficult task of reducing spending, and there is still a long way to go. A rigorous effort will soon be announced to review every program and every line of the federal budget, looking for ways to reduce spending to a reasonable pre-pandemic level.
And Senator Tammy Baldwin also released a statement today saying, in part, quote, I am disappointed, I am disgusted, but I am also fired up and ready to keep fighting alongside every Wisconsinite who believes we can do better to give hardworking families a fair shot and stop tilting the scales for the wealthy and well-connected.
Let's get a check on the weather now. It's a nice summer afternoon out there. Meteorologist Blaze Keller is on the weather patio looking ahead to the 4th of July, too.
That's right. It is not only a beautiful week, Wednesday out here, Susan, but I'm also been looking at that 4th of July very carefully because I want to make sure folks know exactly what to expect. We are looking at a chance for some showers and thunderstorms as we look ahead to Wednesday, also for Friday as well, but those are mainly going to be in the morning hours. On Wednesday, tomorrow, we have a marginal risk for maybe 1 or 2 severe thunderstorms, and if we look at future track, that's mainly going to be as we go into the mid to late afternoon hours, further to the north and east. That's where a lot of that shower and thunderstorm activity has been consistently showing up in our weather model. So I think that's where a lot of that rain is going to be on Wednesday. Can't rule out a shower or thunderstorm making it into central and southwestern parts of the forecast area, but it looks like the further away from the bulk of moisture you get, the better chance that rain shower activity is going to break up. And I think that's what's going to happen on Wednesday, meaning I think it's going to be another dry concert on the square. We'll take a look at what the 4th of July has in store for us, as well as any more rain chances in the extended forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Blaze, thank you. The man accused in a plot to poison women in Dane and Rock counties received his bond today.
And Paul Van Dyne received a $37.5 million bond for 3 counts of attempted first-degree homicide, aggravated battery, recklessly endangering safety, and stalking. Our Ellie LaLiberte was at his initial appearance in Rock County Court today and joins us live with what happened in court. Ellie?
Eric, Susan, today in court, we heard emotional statements from the victim of this alleged poison plot and her mother, 26-year-old Amanda Bade, willingly identifying herself to the court. She says she spent 38 days in the hospital, partially paralyzed and losing her hair. Now, according to court records, Van Dyne and his girlfriend, Andrea Whitaker, tried to poison Bade, trying to kill her 3 times using various poisons. However, Bade says that she refuses to live in fear.
Paul has been playing professional assassin with undetectable weaponry against us all year. And I'm a girl from Chicago who checks her surroundings twice, excessively locks her doors, is in by dark. I keep a gun on me. I did not stand a chance.
Now, Bade's mother also spoke today, saying she can't sleep at night and their whole family has been changed since this incident. You can hear from both of them tonight at 6, but for now, reporting live outside the Rock County Courthouse, Ellie LaLiberte, News 3 Now.
All right, Ellie, thank you.
Thank you, Ellie. We'll see you at 6. Some homes were evacuated near Camp Randall yesterday because of a broken gas meter. Around 5 o'clock, residents reported a strong gas odor on North Breeze Terrace. Madison firefighters found a broken meter on the side of a house, but could not fix the leak as it was broken below a regulator. Residents of the building were evacuated, as well as some of the neighbors. MG&E was able to secure the leak, and residents were allowed back in their homes within a few hours.
The Monroe pool was briefly evacuated Sunday morning after a man threatened his wife with a shotgun nearby. Police responded around 7 to a home on 16th Street, just a few houses from the pool there in Monroe. A 75-year-old woman reported her husband was threatening her. Officers helped her escape through a window and evacuated the pool and nearby homes. The man was arrested without incident. Faces charges including reckless endangerment, battery, and disorderly conduct while armed.
A man was arrested after a high-speed chase through multiple cities in Jefferson County last night. It started around 10:30 p.m. when a deputy stopped the driver in Jefferson for an equipment violation and discovered a felony warrant. When a Jefferson officer arrived, the driver took off, hitting speeds of 100 miles per hour. After turning off their lights in Fort Atkinson, the driver crashed into a ditch, ran, and then was tased before being taken into custody.
A new study spanning over 1,000 U.S. hospitals reveals antibiotics may not help COVID-19 patients. Researchers examined 500,000 COVID patients between 2020 and 23 and found no benefits from any antibiotic treatment. In fact, unnecessary antibiotics could potentially cause harm and contribute to antibiotic resistance. Dr. Michael Puglia from UW School of Medicine recommends patients ask their doctors if antibiotics are truly necessary, emphasizing that not all infections require these medications.
I always want to empower patients to have these discussions with their providers and say, is this a virus? Do I really need an antibiotic? And just it's always okay to ask and have that conversation and make sure that the treatment is being tailored to your specific situation.
Well, with COVID patients receiving antibiotics in up to 30% of hospital admissions, this research challenges current medical practice and highlights the need for more targeted treatment strategies.
An appliance store in Milton closed its doors with no notice to its customers.
News 3 Now's Jalen Banks caught up with one family who had already paid thousands of dollars for appliances they have yet to receive.
Shumway Appliance in Milton closed its doors last month without giving any of its customers a notice. I had the chance to catch up with one family who's now out thousands of dollars. Meet Sandra and Todd Keyser. They have lived in Milton for 30 plus years. At the moment, they're in the middle of building a new home. And recently they bought $8,000 worth of appliances from Shumway Appliance in Milton back in November of last year. However, last month, news broke that Shumway is closing.
Found out a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, that they closed the doors. I guess this wasn't on our radar, and when we found out, then we started investigating, and we have not been able to find any more information out.
And the Keysers say they, among others, were given no notice of the closure and are now out of both money and appliances that they paid for.
It's it's a little disheartening. Like we said, we really try to shop locally.
Out to the community via Facebook group just to ask how many other people were impacted. And I heard from about 25 different families, and the total's a little over $50,000, but that is just the people who have reached out to me.
Our Call for Action team reached out to the former owner of Shumway Appliance, but has yet to receive a response. For now, reporting in Milton, Jalen Banks, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Jalen. Well, inching closer to the holiday weekend, a complete look at your forecast straight ahead at 5.
And we knew the Bucks needed some changes in the offseason today. Some major moves. We'll tell you about them next. And on Wall Street today, mixed numbers, but the record high closes continue for the Dow Jones, up some 400 points. The Nasdaq loses 167. The S&P 500 down 7 at the closing bell. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
Well, Edgewood College is now officially Edgewood University. The Madison-based school held a ceremony this morning to raise its new flag and celebrate the name change. President Andrew Mannion said this shift marks a new era for the university.
The change comes as we approach our centennial year and as we continue to expand the reach of our mission as a Catholic institution of higher education in the Dominican tradition. As we position this institution to flourish into our second century, we make this change today to celebrate and honor our past and to embrace our future.
Edgewood has been offering graduate programs since the 1980s and now welcomes over 1,300 grad students from 37 countries. New doctoral programs, including nurse anesthesia and occupational therapy, will launch this fall.
The Milwaukee Bucks will take on a very different look next season. Various reports indicate they've signed former Pacers center Miles Turner to a 4-year, $107 million deal. That as longtime center Brook Lopez moves on to the LA Clippers. The Bucks have also waived injured star guard Damian Lillard. They still owe him his contract as he recovers from that Achilles surgery. And longtime role player Pat Connaughton was traded to Charlotte for point guard Vasa Micic and 2 second-round picks in 2031 and 32. And Milwaukee also added veteran guard Gary Harris. While everyone trying to map out their holiday weekend plans in the days ahead, our weather team keeping a close eye on things. And here is meteorologist Blaze Keller with your complete First Warn forecast, Blaze.
That's right. We're going to focus now on the 4th of July. We had a couple of severe weather chances over this past couple of days. We do have a marginal risk, so an isolated chance for a severe thunderstorm on Wednesday, but that chance really doesn't look super great in our neck of the woods. It looks closer to maybe, say, Fond du Lac and Green Bay, Manitowoc. So we're going to jump ahead to the 4th of July. Obviously, we're still going to carefully watch Wednesdays and Thursdays' chances for showers and thunderstorms and bring you updates throughout the afternoon. But we're all likely getting ready for the 4th of July. So what does the day have in store for us? Possibly starting off with some showers and thunderstorms, but those push off towards the northeast. Notice that our winds are out of the south and west, so we're going to be moving up that warm, humid air throughout the afternoon. So we're expecting temperatures to climb into the upper 80s to low 90s, which may push back that isolated rain chance into the late evening, early overnight hours to begin. Models have been consistently, and I say that because our weather models sometimes like to have fun, especially further out. They like to imagine, if you will, let their imaginations run wild the further we get out. So now that we're getting closer to Friday, I'm going to continue to see if what they imagined, which was drier, continues to stick around for Friday late afternoon through the evening hours when most of our fireworks shows will be taking place. And that's what looks to continue here. We're at 1 a.m. on Saturday, and other than cloud cover moving on in and maybe some breezy conditions, we're continuing to stay dry. So that's what I'm going to continue to look at. Alex will continue to look at, Savannah and Jacob, as we get closer to Friday. But models started picking up on that late last week, this past weekend, but I just wanted to make sure that they continued to pick up on it. So if we start off in the morning hours, we're in the low 70s. By the afternoon, we're in the low 80s. After topping out in the upper 80s to low 90s, right around the time that maybe some of those shows will be going, we'll be in those upper 70s to low 80s underneath mostly clear to partly cloudy conditions. Our high of 91 degrees beats the average high, which is about 81 degrees for the 4th of July in the Madison area, but not near enough to that 102 mark to make it the hottest high temperature on the 4th of July back in 2012, and certainly not the coldest high temperature either. That was only 60 degrees back in 1967. We picked up over 1.25 inches of rain back in 1994. I was only 2 years old, and we have not had any snow on the 4th of July, and maybe that will stay, hopefully that way, for quite some time. Rain chances beyond the 4th of July, Saturday, as well as into Sunday and that following Monday, and those don't look to be widespread. Again, we're not seeing any widespread rain activity, so that means that our 7-day estimated rainfall totals over the 2nd through the 8th are really minimal, and that's some good news. We do need to dry out. We've had quite a lot of rain over the last few days. 80s and maybe a few low 90s out there with an isolated shower or thunderstorm by the late afternoon further north and east on Wednesday. And then we do cool down as we look to the first full week of July.
And speaking of rain, the Brewers were just rained out, so in New York. So doubleheader tomorrow, Blaze.
All right.
Rain in New York.
Thanks, Blaze. State legislative Republicans have struck a deal with Governor Evers on the biennial budget. The legislature says this budget will deliver tax cuts that save taxpayers nearly $1.5 billion.
And Arman Rahman breaks down some of the highlights of that bill.
They say the sign of a good compromise is when no one leaves happy. But child care providers tell me they left the Joint Finance Committee today feeling somewhat relieved.
I get to tell my parents that I will not be raising tuition this year.
Heather Murray at Art House Preschool in Wanakee wasn't alone when staring at the bottom of the child care account's barrel of funding, which ended Monday.
A lot of my colleagues were closing their doors because there was no money that was following child care accounts.
But across the state, they're going from $0 to $330 million. How much Republicans and Governor Tony Evers called for in total for child care.
I would say, at least for the next year, they're going to have their doors open. We still have a lot of things to fix, but it's wonderful to get that kind of support.
But as some pointed out, the governor similarly used pandemic-era funds to stretch the dollar for child care last year.
All that's happening here is we're kicking the can down the road on massive child care closures a year from now when the money runs out.
Both Evers and Republican lawmakers agreed on the largest increase for the Universities of Wisconsin system in nearly 20 years. Over $256 million over the next 2 years for operations and over $840 million to support capital building projects, including the old Science Hall and Humanities Building at UW-Madison.
Certainly not as much as the UW system and the governor were asking for, which is a good thing. The Republicans on this committee and across the legislature want to have a lean, competitive.
That was Arman Rahman reporting. Both the Senate and Assembly will discuss the budget tomorrow. They're expected to send it to the governor's desk as is. A daring rescue on a highway north of Milwaukee saves lives moments before a car becomes fully engulfed. We'll have that story next at 5.
You're watching News 3 Now at 5.
A Milwaukee neighborhood is on edge after a homemade explosive damaged garages in a family SUV late Saturday. Surveillance video shows a Honda Pilot pulling into an alley around 11 when a passenger steps out, places something on a parked car, then the vehicle drives off. Seconds later, a loud explosion. Pieces of a tennis ball were found scattered across the scene. The blast damaged 2 garages and a family vehicle.
My husband was in the garage where we have gas tanks, and if it would have been any closer, we could have had a serious issue. I would have lost my husband.
The Milwaukee police are now investigating and referred to the device as an illegal firework in their report.
A dramatic scene on a Wisconsin highway over the weekend.
A fiery crash north of Milwaukee could have ended much differently if a group of strangers hadn't stopped to pull the driver out before the car was completely engulfed.
Gideon Verdon has the story.
It was just after 12:50 on Saturday when Marcus Grant was driving home. That's when he came across the horrifying scene. 2 vehicles wrecked, one already smoking, and no emergency crews in sight.
It was surreal. It wasn't really scary. It was more like, oh my God, this is like a war scene.
Marcus says he and about 6 to 8 people stopped to help, among them an EMT and a paramedic, by pure coincidence.
I couldn't just sit there and do nothing.
Cell phone video captured by Marcus shows the aftermath, flames raging. He says the driver was of large stature and unconscious. A man he described as the biggest man on the scene did most of the heavy lifting.
I see in the middle of the road this mushed little car. It was just all mushed up from an accident. So then I saw like 4 or so people on the passenger side trying to frantically pull this guy out. So I immediately got out of the car. I knew it was fresh. It was like I got there within seconds.
Marcus also assisted the second driver. He says police later declared the area a crime scene. He saw one person detained and placed into the back of a squad car.
These people that were pulling him out had literally minutes to get him out.
He's sharing his story for 2 reasons: to acknowledge the heroes that night and urge drivers to slow down.
When it says go 55 in construction zones, they really mean it, but I think that's actually too fast. It should be more like 20 or 15.
And we'll be back with a final check of your First Warn forecast after a short break.
Center for undocumented immigrants that is surrounded by swamp and snakes. Who could end up there, and what's it costing taxpayers? and a Minnesota woman's race to protect her neighbors from an invisible danger. That's tonight on the CBS Evening News.
And then coming up at 6, nurses are set to strike at Mercy Health. We'll tell you what's prompting this union action and what it could mean for patients.
Well, what would you do if you won the lottery? That is the question thousands of people across Norway were asking over the weekend when they were told they had won large sums in the Euro jackpot draw, only to find it was all an error. Norway's national lottery, Norsk Tipping, has apologized, calling it a conversion mistake, whatever that is. The CEO has resigned since that scandal emerged.
Oh, that's so cruel.
It's a dirty trick, isn't it? Here, you won $100 million. Oh, not so
So
fast.
did like everybody just get this email saying that they'd won a ton of money? I would be so mad.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes.
Well, I have no segue. It's going to be a quiet night out there tonight. Maybe we won the lottery in terms of weather. When we dip into the low to mid 60s, right around where we should be for this time of year, and we are looking at a chance for some showers and thunderstorms. Very isolated chance Wednesday, a bit more of a widespread chance on Thursday, and then it becomes isolated again on the 4th of July. Right now it looks like mostly in the morning, and then we could see a stray shower or thunderstorm later in the evening, more overnight into Saturday. So I think for the most part, 4th of July is going to be breezy, it's going to be hot, it will be humid, but I think for the fireworks shows, I think we'll be dry. We're going to then cool down and head into the low to mid 80s Sunday through that following Friday with a couple more rain chances there to start off our next work week and then maybe by Thursday of next week. But that is well into the future, and I think a lot of people are just focused on a certain day that is right around the corner.
Yeah, they're 3-day weekends for many folks coming up, and hopefully your weather computer, you said it kind of has a mind of its own, is that what you said?
No,
Our
they
weather
like to
models,
pretend.
they like to
What was that all
have fun, and then us as meteorologists have to wrangle them in and say, no, kids, we're not going to be playing today. We're going to
That's why we have pros like you that can read that thing.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for watching News 3 Now at 5. Coming up, the CBS Evening News. We'll be back in 30 minutes for News 3 Now at 6.
Have a good evening, everybody. You can find